Makeup I've been using for 10 plus years and still stand behind. As a professional makeup artist and content creator, I've tried so much makeup. So the fact that these have stayed in my makeup arsenal and are still standout products just speaks a lot, especially with all the new makeup launches. Also, in case you didn't know, I've started my channel 11, going on 12 years ago. So a lot of these products may seem familiar. Comment below if you've been following from the beginning. That would be crazy. Consider subscribing before you leave, and let's get right in it. Alright, let's get nice and comfy. First off, MAC Fix Plus setting spray. This will never not be in my makeup arsenal or my freelance makeup kit. It's still my go-to setting spray in my kit. Nothing melts the makeup together the way this setting spray does. It has glycerin in it, so it helps draw moisture to the skin. So whatever powders and creams and all those products that you're layering on your skin, it helps marry them all together so it doesn't look like you have a bunch of product just sitting on top of your skin. It's not the setting spray you're gonna want to use for longevity, but it's a setting spray you'll want to use with a long wearing setting spray to help melt the makeup together, and then you can use your long wearing setting spray to help like keep the makeup bulletproof. Next we got foundations. One of these I used in my first ever YouTube video in 2013, and that is the Loreal True Match Lumi. And then I also love and still stand behind the Loreal True Match. These foundations literally perform like bougie foundations, like the finish, everything gorgeous. So Loreal True Match Lumi is great if you have more dry skin. It's gonna give you more of a glow to your skin. It's a little bit thin, very buildable. You can get medium to full coverage with this. It mimics like the texture and glow of skin. And if you want something with a little bit more coverage and say you're a little bit more oily, you'll really love the Loreal True Match. This is more of a satin finish, so it's not matte, it's not glowy, it's like the perfect in between, so it works well for so many skin types. This foundation right here is still just like, I will still reach for this. It stays on all day. Beautiful velvety finish, medium to full coverage. When I first started using this, it did not come with a pump. You had to pour it out. And I remember following Lauren Curtis, and she had the Loreal True Match. That's all she would use in all of her makeup videos. But she was based in Australia, and I remember her Loreal True Match had a pump, and I was so jealous. And now here in the US, we got a pump like 10 years later. This next foundation is still literally my go-to foundation to this day. I have to have it in my freelance makeup kit. I have to have it in stock for personal use. If it's a special occasion, if I need my makeup to look good, this is the foundation I'm using. The Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. Technically, I started using this foundation in 2015, but I'm including it in this video anyway. You can get sheer medium coverage. You can build it up for a flawless finish. I love that you can layer this foundation and it will never look cakey. It's oil free too, so even though it has a soft satin finish, if you're oily, you could still get away with using this. I can count on this foundation regardless of the time of year, regardless of what my skin is like, whether I'm dry, oily, it doesn't matter. I can always go back to this foundation and I know that it'll work perfect with my skin. I also found out from a friend that apparently this is a good foundation if you're like more acne prone. Sticking on face products, the Essence Brighten Up Powder. I remember using this years ago and I ended up repurchasing it like a few years ago, maybe back in 2019. And a lot of times I'll repurchase makeup to see if it's as good as I remember or if it was just good just because I didn't know any better at the time. But no, this was like 10 times better than I even remember. I can never keep the lid on this. Like it always ends up breaking somehow, but it is the perfect touch-up powder. It gives you the perfect amount of brightness under the eye without being too much. Super fun, so you can layer it on top of your makeup and it's not gonna look cakey. It's the ideal finishing powder, especially for the under eyes. I want to say this powder is like $3 or $4, like crazy inexpensive. So this is a Brighten Up banana powder, but how cool would it be if they came out with like a peach version and a pink version? I feel like that would go crazy. Speaking of products that are just as good as I remember, even better. The more I use it, the more I'm just like, dang, how is this product this good? And how is it so far ahead of its time? And that's the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. This is just a good bronzer all in all. Not even just for the drugstore. It's just a good bronzer. It's the ideal satin finish, so it melts into the skin, but there's no glitter in it. So it's still gonna give you that like velvety, smooth finish. I love how these bronzers run a little bit more on the neutral side. It works for like so many different skin tones, skin types. And again, another one of those products that I will never not have in my makeup collection. Super random and off topic, but do any of you guys remember the NYC? Yes, NYC sun bronzer, NYC eyeliner. They were like $1 or $2 and they were phenomenal. I wish I saved those products. They were so good. Moving on to a bougier bronzer that I still love and stand behind, and I still use in my makeup kit to this day. MAC Mineralized Skin Finish and Give Me Sun. Similar to the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, it's a gorgeous satin finish. Doesn't have any glitter in it, but it just melts into the skin so perfectly. Like, do you see how smooth that is? Ugh. Now, the Give Me Some bronzer is very rich and warm, but I love how like warm and borderline orange it is, because whenever I need to add a little more oomph to a makeup look, if it's just like falling flat and there's not enough color in the skin, I can just take a little tiny bit of this, buff this on the perimeter of the face, or sometimes even all over, and just it'll give you that veil of warmth to the skin, make it look like you just sat outside and got some sun. And it's one of those bronzers I love to use in my kit because I'll use it on its own, or I'll like kind of mix it with a more neutral bronzer to create like the perfect color and finish. These two are some of the only bronzers I've ever hit pan on. Let's move on to some eye this next product, it was just so good. Even before the drugstore had like a bunch of bomb makeup options, this brand just has always been on it, and it's L'Oreal. There's L'Oreal Infallible Pressed Pigments. They're amazing. This was my everyday eyeshadow my senior year of high school. I would show up to school with this glittery rose gold color all over my eyelid with no shame in my game. This color is stunning, and fun fact, Makeup by Mariel actually used this eyeshadow on Kim on her wedding day. This is the shade Amber Rush. Look at how gorgeous that is. I need to keep this out because this is one of those shadows that I still just like want to grab for more regularly. And this is one of those eyeshadows where if you're not the most skilled at makeup, you could just dab this on your lid with your finger and then take a fluffy brush and blend the edges, and it'll give you a bold, beautiful look, make it look like you took all this time doing your eyeshadow, but really it's just one color that's doing all the pop and work for you. Speaking of eye products that were part of my everyday eye look my senior year of high school, in 2014, L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara. Carly Bybel actually put me onto this 13 years ago at this point. Maybe she was one of the first makeup influencers I ever followed. Her makeup tutorials just had such a special place in my heart because I was able to recreate them, and it was like at that age I was like 15, 16 years old, insecure about a lot of things, and then I would follow her tutorials, recreate them, and actually feel pretty, like for the first time ever. And then feeling pretty externally then made me start to like feel pretty internally. Yeah, so she'll always have a special place in my heart. Anyways, all that to say, the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara she put me onto, I still love it and use it to this day. It gives you so much length, volume, separation. It's one of those like more plasticky ones. This is the ideal mascara for the lower lash line too, because it will grip every single lash hair and really extend your lashes to the fullest. Incredible mascara. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if the formula is a little bit more wet than I remember, but the last few times I've purchased it, I like to leave it open like this overnight to dry it out a bit, just because I prefer the formula when it's a little bit drier. And then this mascara combo is actually what started the idea of this whole video. In my last video I was mentioning how I started using this combo 10 years ago, and then it just got me thinking of like what other makeup products I've been using for 10 years. Anyways, this mascara combo right here, the Lancome Cils Booster Lash Primer and the Lancome Hypnose Drama Mascara. I started using these when I got my first ever job in makeup 10 years ago with Lancome at Macy's, and it's funny because this was my favorite lash combo 10 years ago, and it is my current favorite lash combo at the moment. They recently reformulated the Hypnose Drama Mascara, so that's the one that I've been using lately. Love this one. Like, I think I love it more than the old formula, although I did still really love the old formula. The shape of the wand and everything is the same, and I just love it because it fits the contour of the eye so perfectly. You get the length, you get the volume, but it doesn't clump your lashes together. You can still like build it up without all your lashes just like sticking together. And then the lash primer, this is actually the first lash primer that I ever used. It's one of the best. I've tried so many since then, but I always come back to this one. When you put this on your lashes first, it'll instantly give you volume and length. And then once it dries, it sets, so it kind of like hairsprays the lashes curled and fanned out so that they stay like that all day long. Then you get way more out of your mascara. Honestly, I can't even bother with fake lashes anymore. So like this combo is what I have on my eyes right now. It does what it needs to do. The last eye product, I almost forgot to mention it. This is the only eyeshadow primer that I will ever use. Honestly, every other eyeshadow primer I kind of think is a gimmick, but the MAC paint pots are where it's at. I like using the shades Soft Ochre or Painterly. They're more like flesh tone colors. And what I love about these primers is that they have some color payoff to them. So it'll help cancel out any pigment on the eye so that your eyeshadow shows up more intense. Once it dries down, it's set so your eyeshadow will not move all day long. If you have issues with even your mascara transferring to your lids or you have very oily eyelids, this is a great primer to use. You don't even need to set it with a powder. Like, it will lock itself in place all day. So you remember that Amber Rush eyeshadow I just swatched? That's the MAC paint pot. I'm gonna put some of it over top of it so you can see the difference. Look at that difference. And then it'll just like keep that pigmentation all day long. If you have issues with your eyeshadow creasing, that'll do its job. Ooh, lastly, let's talk about some lip products. I actually have this on my lips right now, and it's the NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Fortune Cookie. This formula, the color and everything is just as incredible in 2024 as it was in like 2014. Nudie, peachy, pinky color to add to the center of any look if you just want to like lighten it up and give you a pouty finish. I also like how these are pigmented enough to wear on their own with a lip pencil. The formula is so pretty. They stay glossy, but they're not sticky. So inexpensive, and like this is just like a really good bridal gloss shade too. I think I want to add a little bit more on. Honestly, NYX was it for lip products back in the day, and I think they're still it to this day, but their soft matte lip creams, these were around before like the super matte lips were all the craze. What I loved about these is that they were long wearing, but not drying. They just had like the perfect velvety finish. And the shade Abu Dhabi specifically is the one that I started using 10 years ago and still love to this day. And I remember picking this up because I was trying to get a color that was a close dupe to the MAC lipstick in Velvet Teddy, but I didn't have MAC Velvet Teddy money at the time. And so I ended up getting this one, and honestly, it's like just as good and just as pretty. This is the type of neutral lip that will like go with any look, will work for a variety of skin tones. I'm also gonna leave this on my vanity so I remember to use it more regularly because that's so pretty. And then the very last lip product is actually the one and only MAC Velvet Teddy. I still use this in my freelance makeup kit. I would say 7 times out of 10, this is what I'm using on a client, whether I'm using it on its own or I'm using it as like a base for another lip color that I'm like mixing into it. Like, not too nude. It's honestly just like a natural lip color. So that's Velvet Teddy right there. That's the NYX color. Velvet Teddy's a little bit more like pinky. And when I worked at MAC, the amount of MAC Velvet Teddies I would sell, whether I was selling it to a client or a client was coming in to repurchase it, like we sold so many of these. MAC Velvet Teddy will always be that girl. And all right, that wraps it up for this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this and had fun kind of like feeling a little bit nostalgic with me. Please let me know what makeup products you've been using for 10+ years and still absolutely love. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!